Welcome to the launch of the Center for Responsible Technology, or CERT for short. First off, I would like to express our profound appreciation to Yang Berhormat Datuk Fahmi for being here this morning to officiate the occasion. We're also very grateful to MCMC and of course to Tan Sri Salim for the foundational support that has enabled CERT to be established on such firm footing. I would like to acknowledge our colleagues from government, from the industry, academia, civil society, and the diplomatic community. Your presence is a strong affirmation that questions surrounding technology are no longer peripheral. They are sitting very firmly instead at the center of our national discourse. For much of modern history, technology was generally treated merely as an instrument, as a tool to adopt, to adapt, and to deploy in service of personal utility, economic growth, and administrative efficiency. But back in the 1950s itself, in his essay, Die Frage nach der Technik, the question concerning technology, the German philosopher Martin Heidegger contended that technology is not merely a collection of tools, but a way of understanding the world. In today's context, as the pace of technological advancement accelerates exponentially, Heidegger's insights continue to resonate profoundly and powerfully. Heidegger's exhortation therefore warrants a robust debate on the ethical, social, and existential dimensions as we navigate the complexities of technological advancement. It therefore behoves us to critically assess not only the benefits, but also the potential risks, and hence reinforcing the imperative for the key word, which is responsibility. Digital platforms mediate between societal interaction. Algorithms shape what we see and what we do not see. An infrastructure that is often invisible to the user carries profound implications for our collective sustainability. This raises a plethora of questions across a broad spectrum of human endeavors which demand holistic examination. So this brings us to a central premise underpinning the establishment of CERT, that the governance of technology cannot be left solely to market forces, nor can it rely exclusively on reactive legislation. To be sure, both have their place, but neither alone is sufficient on its own. On one hand, markets are neither designed to internalize long-term social costs, nor to protect vulnerable communities by default. Regulation, on the other hand, often arrives after harms have already been inflicted, have already materialized, shaped by urgency and public pressure. As laws generally cannot be applied ex post facto, that is, retrospectively, we are therefore effectively left in the lurch. By then, what is frequently missing between these two poles is an independent layer of rigorous, credible research. In this regard, publicly funded research plays a unique and indispensable role. It creates space for questions that are difficult, very uncomfortable, and sometimes surely just inconvenient. Answering these questions may not yield immediate commercial returns, true, but they matter deeply for society. It allows us to honestly examine trade-offs without having to assume that every technological change will bring progress, or that every regulatory intervention will deliver the intended consequences or outcomes. More importantly, public interest research helps us move beyond unhelpful and false dichotomies. It reminds us that regulation and innovation are not mutually exclusive, are not opposing forces, and that human rights on the one hand and economic growth on the other are not exclusive either. For institutions such as ISIS Malaysia, this responsibility is not new. Since our founding, we have sought to provide our stakeholders with analysis that is grounded in evidence. In the domain of technology, however, the pace, scale, and reach of change demand a more focused and sustained effort, one that recognizes technology governance as a defining challenge of our time. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is in this context that the Center for Responsible Technology was conceived. CERT was established in recognition of a simple but often overlooked reality. Technological outcomes are not predetermined, and to assume otherwise would be to mistake momentum for destiny. CERT will be undertaking research in the intersections of technology and society, sustainability, safety, and security. The biggest opportunities and most pressing questions regarding technology and our quest for a better future arise precisely at this intersection. CERT is neither intended to be a moralizing body, let alone a propaganda platform driven by so-called predetermined conclusions. No, indeed. Its role is to generate evidence, consider trade-offs, and expand the quality of decision-making by the government. It will work closely with regulators, industry players, and civil society, while maintaining the independence that is essential to its credibility. At the national level, CERT aims to support policymakers with research that is forward-looking rather than reactive, drawing lessons from past regulatory experiences. The objective is to help design interventions that are proportionate, so that we do not find ourselves perpetually swinging between under-regulation and overcorrection. At the regional level, CERT aspires to contribute to ASEAN and broader Global South perspectives on technological governance. Too often, global debates of these topics are shaped by contexts and assumptions that do not fully reflect our lived realities. Malaysia has both the opportunity and responsibility to help articulate approaches that are pragmatic, inclusive, and attentive to developmental needs. The establishment of CERT is not an assertion that we already have the answers. On the contrary, it is an acknowledgement of uncertainty. It reflects a recognition that governing technology responsibility requires continuous inquiry, openness to evidence, and a willingness to revisit assumptions as conditions change. In that sense, CERT is as much about asking better questions as it is about offering solutions. The Center for Responsible Technology is part of ISIS Malaysia's broader commitment to serve the nation and the region through rigorous, policy-relevant research. It is an invitation to engage in a collective effort to shape how technology develops, not simply react to it. The choices we make today and about how technology is developed, deployed, and governed will shape not just the tools we have access to in the future, but the world we will then live in. CERT exists to ensure that choices we make along the way are informed, responsible, and anchored in the public interest. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor of calling on YB, Datuk Fahmi Fadil, to deliver the keynote address. Thank you.